Muslim, alhamdulillah, in Philadelphia. He's from West Philadelphia. And he graduated from West Philly High, for those of you who understand Philadelphia. So, and I also graduated from West Philly High. So we have the connect, and it's a big connect, a lot of stuff. But alhamdulillah, Muhammad, son of Munir, is very studious brother, comes from a studious family. He studied in Yemen for a minute. How long was that?
A year.
A year in Yemen. But to show you how, about his scholarship as a young man, he achieved something that people from the West normally don't do. I don't know, he might be the only one. He entered the University of Medina without going through the language program. He went straight into the university. And with that, I give you Muhammad bin Munir al-Mufti.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وعلى أزواجه وذريته وأهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. When we talk about raising children in Islam, cultivating children in Islam, obviously that's a very broad topic and a heavy topic and an important topic. And a topic which is of utmost necessity. Utmost necessity. It always was, it is, and it always will be. Me personally, as a speaker, traveling, going to masjid, center to center, country to country, state to state, city to city, I've spoken on this many times myself. And I've been asked to speak about this many times. And each time I speak about the topic or speak on a topic, something new comes to me. Or something that I didn't understand or didn't get the first time or the previous time comes to me. So with that being said, this topic isn't just an address to the children or to the young men and young women. Nor is it يعني ليس خطابا إلى الأولياء والموجهين والأساتذة والمدرسين. It's not just a topic for the teachers and for the educators and for the role models and for the older brothers and the older sisters. Nor it is a topic which is just my sheer enjoyment. It makes me happy, or makes me feel good, or it's a topic that each and every single one of us needs, especially in 2018. Especially in 2018. Now, there's always been a danger upon one's children, always. There's always been fear of harm and fear of loss of one's children from the beginning till now. Whether it was something that was harmful to one's health, many things that you birth, or through sickness, or through disease, okay? There was always the fear of a person leaving one's own culture or religion, traveling to a new land, and the list goes on of problems that people had upon which they feared for their children. There's nothing that's been like 2018, in which is a whole new ball game, in which the challenges that Muslim youth face, and the challenges that Muslim teachers face, and the challenges that non-Muslim teachers and instructors and coaches face is like nothing else has ever been in the past. And obviously there are many reasons and factors behind this. One of those is, of course, the internet. The internet has changed the world. The dunya is not the same as it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's different. It's changed. And it is upon us to accept the reality that the dunya has changed via the worldwide net. Now, when I was growing up, when I was younger, of course, they had the internet. You had the internet, but you had to go to the library. You had to go to school. There was a computer lab. There was never a time in which a 7-year-old child or a 5-year-old child or a 12-year-old or a 16-year-old teenager could have the entire world at his or her fingertips. With high-speed data, unlimited data, with a code. And I don't have a home button on my phone. My phone recognizes my face in the dark. No one can open up my phone. No one can go and see what I'm trying to look at, what I'm watching, what I'm learning from, except for myself. biometrics, your fingerprints, your eyes, retina. This is new. It wasn't like this back in the day. So it's a whole different game that we're playing now. And this is for the Muslim child, the Muslim teenager, for the teacher, for the coach, the father, the parent, the older brother, the imam, the sheikh. Everyone has to understand haqiqat al-masuliyah and the reality of what's going on. And if we choose to be delusional, if we choose to live in a fantasy world, and if we choose to live and be stuck in what it was and how it was when in my day when I was coming up, then there lies no doubt we are going to lose. Everyone is going to lose. All right? So that's first and foremost. Secondly is, when it comes to speaking to children or teenagers, young men and young women, you guys got to understand that you have a big responsibility on your shoulders. Big responsibility. First and foremost, you have to please Allah. That's your biggest thing in life. It's to please your Creator. It's to make the one who made you and gave you everything that you have happy. Make him pleased. And obviously you have a responsibility of making your parents pleased and making them happy. Those who suffer and sacrifice to make you have comfort, for you to play and relax and have a good education, and for you to make money, and for you to do this and for you to do that. And last but not least, it is upon you to make your own selves happy. That's a big responsibility. How to be happy in a place and in a time and in a world in which there's so many people, especially teenagers, are unhappy. And many things that they do and many things that they don't do is nothing more than a manifestation of the lack of unhappiness, of drugs, of alcohol, of tattoos, of gangs, of illegitimate marriage. And the list goes on. Dropping out of school because I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I never was happy. So therefore, how do we strike the balance as Muslims? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He comes first. And then after Allah, the one who made you and created you, your parents. How do you make your parents happy? Do you have to listen to them in everything that they say? Do you have to be what they want you to be? I want to be something else. My father wants to be this. You have to be an engineer, son. You can't be a doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You can't be a painter or an artist or an athlete or a football player. Or some of you, and unfortunately, a very small minority, you may want to be a sheikh or an imam. You want to be a talib al-ilm, a student of knowledge. I want to go to Medina. I want to study in the Prophet's masjid. But your father says, no, you're going to be a chemical engineer, just like I was a chemical engineer. And your grandfather was a chemical engineer. So how do you make your parents happy? And what if you do go to Medina? Or you are a lawyer or a doctor? Or you are a chemical engineer and your parents are still displeased with you and they don't feel like you've done enough? What do you do? And most importantly, how do you seek happiness in this life without displeasing Allah? How do you live a happy life as a young Muslim in the United States? And you have all of these different challenges and these different problems and these different obstacles. I would say first and foremost is that we always look at things in a negative light. We always look at things in a negative light. The internet is bad. 2018 is bad. America is bad. The children are bad. But that's not always right. Every disadvantage that we have and every challenge is also an advantage for you. And it's also a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it depends on how you look at it. And it depends on how you understand it as a young Muslim starting now before you get older. Before you get older. So many of you young brothers here, and inshallah perhaps some of the young sisters, I believe that you understand what I'm saying. Some of you look really smart. And some of you look like you have a great deal of respect. And some of you look like you have very sharp minds. You understand my words. There may be some things you don't get, some words you may not get, or some of it you may not have the ability to grab all of it, but you get the point I'm trying to make. So you are fortunate people. You're fortunate. There are many luxuries that you have that people never ever could dream about when they were growing up and when they were coming up. And from that is what I just mentioned regarding the internet. The internet can be a good thing. It can be a blessing. And obviously it can be other than a good thing, other than a blessing. So with that being said, the first al-qism al-awwal min al-mukhatabin, the first section of the people that I wish to speak to and remind are the teachers and the mashayikh and the imams and the instructors and the coaches and the parents. And please forgive me for me coming and traveling to you and speaking to you and lecturing you. You should be lecturing me. You should be telling me what I should be doing. معلش سامحوني حاشا أتطاول عليكم ولكن it's in a manner. They asked me to come and to speak and to give advice. And Jarir ibn Abdullah رضي الله عنهما كما أخرجه الإمام البخاري رحمه الله في صحيحه, he gave the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم the bay'ah. قال بايعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على السمع والطاعة, to hear, to listen, to obey, to establish the prayer, to give zakat. He says وَالنُّصْحِ لِكُلِّ Muslim, and to give advice to every single Muslim. To give advice to every single Muslim. So with that being said, the Prophet ﷺ, there is no doubt ليس هناك أي خفاء بل الأمر في غاية الوضوح, the importance and the necessity of correct tarbiyah. And what the Prophet ﷺ told us and instructed us and physically has shown us regarding tarbiyah of children, what to do and what not to do, and that it is a major responsibility. An example of this is the Prophet Hadith Abu Hurairah in Sahihain. He says, سَبْعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. He says, on the day of judgment, when the people are resurrected from their graves and there's no more life on this dunya, and the people are going to go to their final destinations, the abode of heaven or hell, he says that there are 7 types of people, not just 7 people, 7 types of people that will be protected on that day. And they won't experience the horror and the terror and the fear. And they will be shaded on that day. These 7 people will get Allah's shade on a day in which there's no shade except for what Allah gives. And the Prophet said, the first one, he says, Al-Imam wal-Adil. He says, as a just ruler, a just leader. Someone who is a leader who's strong and who's just. And he says, وَشَابٌ نَشَأَ فِي طَاعَةِ رَبِّهِ, as a young man or young woman who grows up Muslim, and who grows up righteous, and who grows up obeying and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the end of the hadith. So we all hear about the hadith about a virtuous young man who's Muslim, who's righteous, who's pious. But how does a young Muslim man or young Muslim woman grow up? How? كيف ينشأ في طاعة ربه? How does a person grow up obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Except for the fact that they had positive elements, positive role models. They had teachers. They had coaches. They had parents. They had older brothers, older sisters. They had role models which allowed them to ينشأ في طاعة ربه, to grow up obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So before we get into the responsibility and obligation, أود أن أذكركم بفضل تربية الأولاد, the excellence of it. And that you just don't come to work for a paycheck. You just don't come to work complaining that the parents are this and the people are like that and the school is like this. But do you realize every single day that you come into work and you have these young people under your care and under your guidance, your instruction, you are a cause for them to be under the shade of Allah Azza wa Jal, His shade on the day of judgment. So if that's the virtue that the child gets, فَمَا بَالُكَ أَنْتَ بِالْمُرَبِّي وَالْمُرْشِدِ الَّذِي نَشَّأَهُ وَأَنْشَأَهُ عَلَى طَاعَةِ رَبِّهِ. Because these things, they don't happen by accident. There's no leader in history. There's no great champion. There's no great warrior. There's no great scholar in history. There's no great politician or writer or poet in history, except that you read in their biographies, I had this person who inspired me to do this. And he taught me this. And he showed me the ropes. And he took me under my wing. Nothing is accident or coincidence. There's no great man or woman in Islam or outside of Islam, except that their success is directly based off of someone that instructed them and told them to do the right thing and allowed them to do the right thing and to exploit their talent and gain skill, let alone fame and notoriety. So this is first and foremost, is that not only is it obligatory upon you, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Allah says, O you who believe, O Muslims, qu anfusakum, save yourselves from the fire of hell. A fire that you have no patience upon. There's no sabr that you can have with fire. When you pick up a hot plate, you grab something from the oven, you're baking a pie or something, and the mint is not fully on your hand. Or you grab it and you don't know that it's that hot. You immediately pull your hand back. Immediately you drop it. How expensive is the plate? How long did it take you to make this meal or make this pie? How delicious and yummy does the food look? But you drop it on the floor instinctively. You don't have to think about it because your body is naturally made and created to resist that type of pain. And that's a hot plate. That's not direct fire. That's not a piece of iron. That's not molten iron. That's not something the Prophet ﷺ says, Narukum hadihi. He says, this fire of yours, It's only juz'un min sab'ina juz'an. It's only one part of 70 other parts of the fire of hell. You have no sabr upon Allah's anger and Allah's wrath. And this was the understanding of a Muslim. A Muslim who was a warrior. He was a mujahid fi sabilillah. And the worst thing that could have possibly happened to him happened to him. What was the worst thing? That he was killed on the battlefield? That he was martyred? That he was injured or wounded? No. That's not the greatest fear of a soldier. The greatest fear is being taken prisoner. He was captured. That's the worst thing that can happen to a soldier. Because in most cases, your enemy is going to torture you. They're going to try to humiliate you, degrade you. They're going to force you to give up secrets and to betray and defect from your side. So he was taken as a prisoner. So what did they do with him? They took him and they locked him up. And they said to him, if you're a Muslim, then you're going to stay and you're going to rot in this horrible, damp, dark cell until you relinquish your religion. Are you hungry? I know you are hungry. You've been fighting. You've been traveling. We only have the flesh of swine. Are you thirsty? We know that you are thirsty. And the only thing that we can offer you is liquor and wine. Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you injured? The only person that can keep you company and heal your wounds is a beautiful woman that's going to make fornication with you. That's the only service that we can give you. And it says, when you make your decision, let us know. It's nothing but a knock away, and we'll bring you whatever you want. But you cannot be a Muslim anymore. So obviously, he was a Muslim. He was strong. And he says, I won't eat the flesh of swine. Nor will I drink wine. Nor will I sleep with a scandalous woman, no matter how beautiful she may be. But he sat in a cell, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And no matter how much of a Muslim and a believer he is, he's a human being. So he has to get hungry. He has to get thirsty. He has to get cold. He's shivering. He's shaking. He's shackled up and tied down. It's only a matter of time before his human instincts kick in. Until he takes the concession to eat the haram out of necessity. And the only thing that he had in the cell with him was a flint and a candle. So as he was shaking and shivering and starving and his stomach was bothering him and his wounds ached, he lit the candle and he looked at the candle and he put his hand over the top of the candle for a couple of seconds and he pulled his hand back. When he couldn't take the fire anymore and he felt his hand melting and burning, he put the candle back out and he increased his sabr. And then he started to go mad or crazy as if he was crazy out of hunger and being cold. But he lit the candle again and he said to himself, he says, La sabraka. He says, La sabraka ala hadi. He says, you have no patience upon this candle. You can't hold your hand over the candle for more than 5 or 10 seconds. Then how can you drink? How can you eat flesh of swine? How can you sleep with a non-Muslim woman? How can you make zina? And he was patient in that cell. So the point is, he realized that he had no sabr upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment. And that's nothing but inshallah. Faqat. فَمَا بَالُكْ بِنَارٍ يُوقِدُهَا الْإِنسَانِ. That was nothing but a candle. That was nothing but a small measly candle in a dark cell. So what do you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath and his punishment and the hellfire, which is much more than just fire? The hellfire which has all types of horrid and formidable means of torture. And most importantly, maqatullah, the anger and the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, he tells us in this ayah, Qu anfusakum, save yourselves from something that you have no sabr upon. There's not one from among us who has the ability to stand in front of Allah's punishment and be patient. So with that being said, the only way out is this ayah. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum naran. And also your ahl, your children, your students, your stepson, your stepdaughter, save them from Allah's wrath. Could you sit and watch your child be burnt alive? What would happen to your mind if you saw your son burnt alive? What would happen to you? When your son trips and falls down the steps, or he doesn't even fall down the steps, he trips and he falls on the sidewalk. The very first thing you do, you pick him up. You start kissing him and wiping him off. Oh, what's the matter? And the husband says, leave him. He's a boy. He's all right. He's fine. And the mother says, no, be quiet. You all right? You okay? And all he did was just trip. He barely has a scrape on his knee. How painful is it for you to see your son sick in the hospital, or a baby that has a fever that won't sleep at night? That's the worst punishment upon a woman. And it's nothing but a fever. It's torture. So imagine your child being burnt in the fire of hell. Of course you can't imagine that. You can't begin to imagine that. So therefore you have to protect yourselves and protect your children and also your students, your stepchildren, and anyone who's beneath your care and your guardianship from the punishment and the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهَذَا وَاجِبُكُمْ. That is your duty and you must do it. And of course you already know this. I'm doing nothing but reminding you of your duty. And obviously there are many aspects of this duty with regards to feeding. What food are you allowed to give your children? Is it possible for me to work at a haram location, to have haram wealth, and to feed my son, and to raise them upon an impermissible al-mal al-khabith, illegitimate wealth? Is that protecting my son from the fire of hell? How can my daughter be righteous and I raise her upon haram? I don't tell my son about the salah, about aqidah, about iman, about tawheed. I don't do anything that's necessary with regards to protecting my children from the fire of hell. And obviously, yatulul maqam. That's a very, very, very long discussion with regards to the practical steps of tarbiyah. The practical steps of raising children and raising students in the proper Islamic fashion. That's something that we don't have time to talk about. What I only wanted to do was to remind the parents, the step-parents, the uncles, the aunts, the grandparents, to remind the elders of their responsibility that you already know about. Number two is the students. You yourselves, all of you here, you have many things that there are children and countries could never think about and dream about. And it's not just a story. I'm not just trying to scare you or sound like I know a lot. But one thing that I do know, and I can say, and I don't have to be humble about, is that I've been to many countries. And I've been to many cities in many different countries. And I've seen children like you, and like you, small young children in the street fighting for food. Have you ever seen children fight over a banana peel? Not a banana, but to fight over the peel of a banana. Think about this. When's the last time you had to fight for a piece of fruit with your older brother or your younger sister? But the refrigerator is full of fruit, or the table is full of fruit, the basket, the bowl is full of fruit. You want to go to the store, you want a strawberry, a blueberry, a watermelon, honeydew, whatever is in season or out of season, you can get. And if you can't find it at the supermarket, you can order it online. So you don't have to fight for food. But you have ever seen a child fight for something that you would throw away and discard? A banana peel. You ever seen children fight over this? Have you ever been to a place in which if you bring them meat from an aqiqah or from Eid Adha, lamb, you bring them red meat, they'll literally tip your car over and fight you to take a bag of meat. We've seen this. We've seen this with our own eyes. People that have no food, they have nowhere to live, nowhere to sleep. People that live on the streets, less than dogs and rats. We've seen this. So you're fortunate. And oftentimes, not only are you fortunate, but the bitter reality is you may be even spoiled. And which you have so many blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It only makes sense for you to be thankful for those blessings. And for you to repay the one who gave you those blessings. And obviously the greatest one that has blessed you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from Allah's blessings that He gave you parents that care about you. That put you in a school. That buy you things. That take you places. They give you so many different things that many children around the world don't have. Rather, children in the United States don't have. Go to the shelters or the orphanages. Go to the hospitals and you'll find children that don't have no one to care about. I don't care about them. I don't care what you do. Chemical engineer, lawyer, doesn't matter to me. You want me a Muslim or non-Muslim, it doesn't matter to me. Your parents actually care about you. They pay their hard-earned money for your success and for your benefit. So it's only right for you to repay them. And how do you repay your parents? And more importantly, how do you pay Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? By doing the right thing. It's no lecture that you need. It's no big book that you have to read. It's basic, easy, and simple. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Be a good Muslim. Be successful, inshallah, in the world, as long as it's permissible. And please your parents as long as it doesn't go against what Allah wants you to do. It's just that simple. So a manifestation of a smart young man or a smart young woman, and you can't go anywhere in the world unless you're smart. From the manifestation of a good, positive person to be successful in the dunya is that you have respect. So if you don't respect your teacher, you can't be a basketball player. You can't be a football player. You can't be a star athlete. The greatest athletes are those who have the best chemistry with their coaches and their teammates. If you don't have basic concept of respect, you can't be nothing. Even if you don't want to be a Muslim anymore, you can't go far without respect. You can't do anything in life without discipline. You can't do anything in life without hard work and sacrifice. And most importantly, if you're an ingrate, if you're ungrateful, if you're not thankful and appreciative of what you get, you will not go anywhere far in life, in the deen or in the dunya. You understand this? Somebody may say, I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want to be righteous. I don't want to pray. I don't want to do that stuff. My parents want me. I just want to do this and do that. Okay, no problem. If that's what you say, you can't go nowhere far in the world if you don't have these basic principles. So not only is it obligatory to obey your parents and respect your teachers and also respect yourselves and respect your classmates, not only is it obligatory, it's a duty, you owe it, but it's something that's only going to help you out in the long run. It's only going to make you a better person with regards to the religion and with regards to the worldly life. So first and foremost is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He deserves the utmost respect. After Allah Azza wa Jalla is the parent, your mother and your father, or your stepmother or your stepfather, and then your older siblings and your aunts and your uncles, and also your classmates. Making fun of people, which is something that you're going to do. Obviously, your kids, it's something we did when we were young. It's natural. But to the point in which you make somebody cry, and you make fun of a Muslim, and you make a Muslim feel like he's not wanted, he's unwelcomed, that's something which is not right. It's not cool. You can't do that. You can't joke around with somebody like that. You can't bully and pick on someone in which you make them cry, and you make them feel that you're not a Muslim brother, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from. Your house is bigger than his house. Your parents are wealthier than his parents. That has nothing to do with how you treat your classmate. And the amount of respect that you get is going to be based off of the respect that you give. Last but not least is that you have to respect yourselves. You have to respect yourselves. And when you respect your teacher, it's telling everybody that you respect yourself. Because one day you're going to be a teacher. And one day you're going to be a parent. And one day you're going to be a coach. And as they say, what goes around, comes around. What goes around, comes around. So if you do the right thing in a young age, when you get older, it's going to be natural. And you don't have to think about it. And that is the concept of someone being taught something or someone having something that they don't need further instruction in. That's going to make you go further in life. Like sports. Like sports. A coach, he gets an athlete, and he doesn't have to teach him the fundamentals anymore because his high school coach taught him that. His middle school coach taught him that. Now I can teach him the real way of doing it. I don't have to waste time in teaching them basic, simple ABC steps. And that's why the Prophet, ﷺ, he told us, he says, Murru abna'akum as-salati wa hum abna'u sab'in. Wadribuhum 'alayha wa hum abna'u 'ashrin. Wa farriqu baynahum fil madaji'. It says that when your children are 7 years old, tell them to pray. Instruct them to pray. Make them pray. And when at the age of 10 and they don't pray, physically discipline them. Physically discipline them. And do not allow them to sleep in one bed under one sheet or one blanket. You don't have to separate the beds, but they have to have their own sheets and their own blankets in the bed. Why does the Prophet ﷺ say this? Is it obligatory to make salah at the age of 7? Do you have to pray when you're 7 years old? Yes or no? What's the answer? You do or you don't? You don't have to pray. Do you have to pray at the age of 10?
Yes.
You have to pray at the age of 10. Why do you have to pray at the age of 10?
Because you're going to get a whooping.
هل هو بالغ؟ ابن 10 بالغ؟ مكلف؟ كيف تجب عليه الصلاة؟ إشكالية في الحديث. How can you have to make salah and you're not of age? In Islam, you have to cover up, you have to do this when you're of age, when you're a young adult in Islam. Most people aren't necessarily fully developed in puberty at the age of 10. So how can you say that they have to pray at the age of 10? And you can get a beating if you don't pray at the age of 10. What does this hadith mean? This is problematic now. He says, tell them to pray at 7. If they don't pray, physically discipline them for something that's recommended? How is this? What does this hadith mean? What's the meaning of this hadith? وَضْرِبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ 10. Huh? Prepare them. But do they have to pray at the age of 10?
Yes.
How do they have to pray and they're not of age yet?
Because they're younger.
They're young. So how do they have to pray then if they're not of age?
So that when they're older, they can know how to pray.
So when they're older, they can know how to pray. There's no doubt about that. But how can they be forced to pray and they're not in puberty yet? They're not of age yet. So the Prophet is basically telling you, you have to do something even though you're still a child. Something's wrong now. Anybody else have an answer? This hadith, first and foremost, is not speaking to children. Al-khitab innama wujhiya ila al-awliya. Many people, they think that the hadith is talking to children. I gotta pray at 7, I gotta pray at 10. It's not the Prophet's address. He's not talking to children in this hadith. He's only talking to parents. And it's as if he's saying, كأنه يقول يجب عليكم أمر أولادكم بالصلاة وإن لم تكن واجبة في حقهم في هذا الصغر لكن في حقك أنت واجب. The prayer is obligatory for you to tell them to do. You have to tell your child to make salah. If your child is by himself, he doesn't have to make salah at 7 or 10. Everyone understand this? If they're not under your care, they don't have to do what? Make salah until they're 12, 13, 14, 15. No matter where you are, you have to pray if you're of age. But the parent is responsible for preparing, as you said, and training and getting the child to do something out of instinct. So when 12 comes around, I don't have to put on a khimar. I'm used to wearing a khimar. It's hot outside. I'm sweating. I have a migraine. I fear sunstroke. She's been wearing a khimar for years out of her life. In which she doesn't have a khimar, she feels uncovered. In which the boy who's not making salah, something is wrong. I didn't pray today. I missed Fajr, I missed Dhuhr, I missed Isha, I missed Maghrib. My day isn't complete. The Prophet ﷺ, he would never say that you have to do something and you're not of age of doing anything. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is only speaking to the parents and teaching them about their responsibility. The point is, because I'm talking to the students now, is that when you're trained to do something, and when you get older, it comes naturally, and you benefit from it. You don't have to waste your time and struggle with things that other people are doing because to you it's second nature. Everyone understand this? And that applies to obeying your parents. That applies to respecting your teacher. That applies to respecting your classmates. That applies to listening to your coach. And that applies to how you treat yourself. Hygiene, being neat, being tidy, etc. It's no longer something that you have to think about. And when you go older and you have the busy, crazy world, you can do more instead of stopping, thinking, and waiting and forcing yourself to do other things that other children don't have. Everyone understand the point? So the bottom line, the only thing I'm trying to say is everything that you do now for Allah and for your parents and for yourself and for your teachers is only going to benefit and help you when you get older. Everyone understand this? That's the only point that I'm trying to make. Is that in reality, you're not doing your parents a favor, but your parents are doing you a favor. Everyone understand this? When you do the right thing, and you walk the right path, it's only going to help you when you get older. And trust me, in this world which is unforgiving and cold and cruel and brutal, you need everything that you can possibly get to help you out, to be successful. And when you watch this person on the television, whatever you want to be, what you want to be when you grow up?
Teacher.
A teacher. What kind of teacher?
Math.
A math teacher. MashaAllah. What about you? A doctor. What kind of doctor? Animal doctor? You don't know. A doctor. And what about you with the glasses? Yeah, you. A chemical engineer, like I said, huh? SubhanAllah. And what about you? With the glasses? Yes, you. Don't know. And what about you? You. A veterinarian. MashaAllah. Anybody here want to be an athlete? What kind of athlete you want to be? Soccer athlete. And what's the biggest thing that you can win playing soccer?
The Golden Glove.
Golden glove in soccer? So, do you know how hard and difficult? Do you know how many people, how many Muslim children want to be doctors and chemical engineers? You know how many places I've been to, and that's the first thing that they say is competition. You have to have something that makes you stand out from the next person. And if you don't have something that stands out, you're just another person in a long, long line of applicants. And if I was a coach, or if I owned a team, or if I had a hospital and I was looking to hire someone, if you guys had equal qualifications, equal grades, everybody's smart, everyone has a good background, I would look at the child, or not the child, the young man and the young woman that has the best character that has the most discipline, and has the best manners. And that's something that you can't fake and you can't hide. You can act like you know something. You can cheat on a test, right? You may get lucky, quote unquote, but you can't hide character. You can't hide discipline. It's going to show itself. And that is something that you cannot develop when you're 18 or 19 or 20 or 25. That's something that you have to start working on what?
Now.
At this age. And the more you work on it, it's only going to help you later on. So with that being said, I think that I've taken enough of your time with regards to this brief and simple reminder about the importance, about the virtue, and about the obligation of us raising our children as Muslims, and us looking up to our teachers and our parents and respecting them as young Muslims, and us doing the right thing, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to be successful in this life, and most importantly, to be successful in the hereafter. Because this life is short. And no matter what you get, no matter how much money you make, no matter how many plaques or degrees you stack on the wall, it's all going to go away. And the Muslim is only striving in reality for the hereafter, for paradise. And it's a harsh reality that some of you may have to understand that your parents may not necessarily understand. Is that the worldly life is temporary. And we are only to take but so much from this worldly life. And the true life is the hereafter. That's the true life. So don't ever forget that. All right? No matter where you go, no matter what you do, don't forget my words. Is that whatever you do in this life is only temporary. But your true, real life as a Muslim is in the next life. Everyone understand this? It may sound easy, it may sound sweet, but there are many, many times in this world in which you're going to be distracted from this. Don't forget that. So with that being said, Jazakumullahu khairan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us good in this life and good in the hereafter and protect us from the punishment of hell. If there's anything in which someone would like to add or comment or any questions, I don't know how much time we have with the venue. I don't mind, inshallah ta'ala, any question from the students or the teachers. And obviously, last but not least, certainly last but not least, I think my older brother, I guess I can call him my uncle. He's definitely a long-term family friend. He knew me before I was born, he said. He knew my parents before I was born, before my parents got married. He said he gave my father his shahada. Sheikh Abdul Basit, someone I've always looked up to, alhamdulillah, whether he knows it or not. But I've always looked up to him, and he's always inspired me. And he always has encouraged me to seek knowledge when I was in high school, when I was young, when I was a youth. Okay? And alhamdulillah, he helped me out tremendously, and I benefited from him as well. And I learned things from him as well. So may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward him for his invitation. And all of the teachers here, the principal, the administrators, the board, Brother Mish'al, Akhuna Mish'al, may Allah Azza wa Jalla يعني ignite شعلة طاعة في قلبه ونوره. And may Allah Azza wa Jalla bless him and bless all of you for your time, for your respect, and for your participation. Thank you guys for the answers. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasuli Nabi Muhammad. And obviously, my brother in Islam and my disciple, Brother Abdur, as they call him, Abdur Raqib. He sacrificed his work to come here and to drive me here and to get on the road here. So may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward him well and bless him and accept it from him. And everyone else who had anything to do with this meeting. Jazakumullahu khairan.
He's a graduate of Tarbiyah Hadith. He has a master's, so you can ask any question too. On the topic or off the topic?
Sorry about the guys in my street. I'm sorry about the phone. It's in the field. You can't control everything, right? Allahumma sta'an.
I didn't have a question, but I just wanted to say why the brother is thanking everybody, that we want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
I'm another of those Philadelphians who know.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much.
And he has a website, HadithDisciple.
Allahu
He has
Akbar.
1,000,001 questions and answers
Allahu Akbar.
and several lectures, and you should get on it.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you. Thank you, Ukhti. Allah bless you.
And may you inspire other young
Ameen.
people
Ameen.
to duplicate.
Jazakallah khairan. Faddal, Amna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thanks a lot, Sheikh, for the nice speech we have and we listen to. And of course, it's going to affect us and our children, inshallah, for better and having a better life, inshallah. My question, Sheikh, is that we know our children, once they are with our teachers here and up to the 8th grade, they are doing fine and doing very well. But I wonder what happens after they leave the school and why a lot of them change. And what can we do to prepare them for the life after the
Clear. The question is regarding our children doing well here at the school, and our school is from K to 8, right? Yes. You said to 8th grade, pre-K to 8th grade, and oftentimes when students graduate or leave here or other schools, some of them don't do so well, whether it's Islamically or worldly, or both. They may fall off both. They're not praying, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're doing bad in school. So why is this? And how can we prepare them? How can we protect them, etc.? Jazakallah khairan, an excellent question. And most importantly, a very practical question. And it's important in this topic for us to always to be practical. And the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ was always practical. It was always practical, something that was real life. All right? It was never something that was just romantic and beyond the reach. It was always practical. It was always practical. So with that being said, first and foremost, we have to understand that guidance and success is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in reality, we don't own it. We don't control it. Our own children, that we can do everything right and everything correct and everything in a positive way, and Allah may will for something to happen. That's beyond our control as servants. But at the same time, we do have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to try. That responsibility is to fight and to struggle. And that responsibility is to lead by example. A wise man, he once said, he wasn't a Muslim. He says, if you wish to lead a people, then walk behind them. If you wish to lead a people, then walk behind them. Don't walk in front of them. In other words, lead by example. So you want your young daughter to be modest and to be pure and clean and to have virtue and honor. You want her to be strong. And you don't want it to be violated. You don't want it to be manipulated or her to feel that she's inferior to someone else, a man or whatever. Then you have to live like that. How does your young daughter see you? How do you interact with your husband? How do you interact with men in the marketplace? When you travel, when you go outside? What are you doing? What example are you making for your daughter? And your son, you want to teach your son respect. How to respect himself, how to respect women, how to do the right thing, how to pray in the masjid, how to be righteous, how to get up for fajr. And you don't get up for fajr. And you disrespect women and flirt with women. And you don't treat your mother properly. What do you want? What do you expect your son to be and to do? And don't think that everything just comes immediately. Islam and tarbiyah is no different than health. There are certain diseases and illnesses and sicknesses which have long-term effects after 20 years of abuse, 20 years of neglect, 20 years of eating this or drinking this or not eating this or not drinking that, then it comes. And the same applies to your children. So you may think that everything's okay, everything is good, we have a happy family, a happy community, a happy masjid, but your children, they see things that you don't think that they see. And they pay attention to things that you don't think that they're paying attention to. And it may not happen immediately. He hits 15, 16, then it manifests itself. He heard you cursing at his mother all those nights. He thought he was asleep. He saw the haram stuff that you was watching on your phone. He knew about this and so on and so forth. So if you wish to lead the people, you have to walk behind them. So the most practical advice that I could give to a teacher that wishes to instill responsibility and worth and respect and value into the child or the student's mind is to befriend them. Be their friend. Obviously, with the necessary respect, taban. You can't always befriend everyone at every level. They'll lose respect. But you have to show them, I'm not here to holler at you. As I said, I'm not here just to lecture you. I'm here to help you out. You can tell me anything. You can confide in me anything. Is that what you can't tell your parents? You can tell me. You're afraid to talk about it? You can come and talk to me. You can trust me. I'm here to help you out. And I'm not just your teacher. I'm your older brother in Islam. And anything that I can do to help you out, you know that the door is wide open. You have to instill love and trust before you get them to do what you want them to do. So a teacher has to have a relationship with his student. All right? You have to have a relationship with your student. Encourage your students to do good. And be real with them. Be realistic. Don't lie to them. The worst thing that you can do is feed children lies and tell them lies and paint that things are going to be picture perfect when they leave the school. No. Outside of those doors, rather in this place, on your phone. In this place, there are dangers and things that will cause you to make terrible, horrible decisions that you have to live with and suffer from the rest of your life, let alone outside of those windows. So I can't be there all the time. I won't be there all the time. But I'm trying to train you to think in the proper way when I'm not there, to give you the tools to be successful. Okay? So that's with regards to while they're still here. Once they leave, visit them. Visit them. You'd be shocked how humbled they be that my old teacher came to visit me, or he asked about me, or he called me, or he sent me a text message, or he said something, or he came to my game, or he came to my performance, or he came to my award ceremony. You'll be shocked. And last but not least, because there's not a lot of time for this question, is don't be hasty. Everything that you say and you teach, it may not necessarily be taken immediately, but it may be subconsciously planted in their minds. And at the critical point or time, they'll benefit from it. When I was young, I didn't listen to everything my mother said to me. I didn't listen to everything my father said to me. Some things I didn't care. Some things I couldn't understand. Some things were beyond my reach. Some things that don't make any sense. What are you talking about? Sheikh Abdul Bassi, he may give me some advice. And it may not have dawned on me at the beginning. But then later on, it says, you know what? That's what he was talking about. That's what he was saying. Now I get it. So if you're sincere, and if you do it in the right way, in the proper way, your teachings will never, ever be wasted, inshallah ta'ala. And last but not least, the bitter reality is that you can't save everyone. And there are some of us who are destined for certain things. How do we know? We don't know. So that's why we try our best. That's why we fight and we struggle and we do the best that we can. هذا باختصار طبعا ولا يعني الجواب يطول. هذا جواب مختصر سريع. Fast food, huh? تفضل. بسم الله أخي. Go ahead.
Do you need to listen to elders?
The question says, do you need to listen to elders? Yes, you do. As long as the elders are telling you that which is right. If they're telling you to do something bad that you know is bad, or you feel is bad, don't listen to them. Do not listen to someone who tells you to do something that's bad, whether it's religious, in the deen, or in the world. Don't listen to what someone tells you that's wrong, or something that you don't feel comfortable with. You understand? But if that's not the case, you should listen to your elders. Yes. Khairan, inshallah. Are there any other questions from the brothers or the sisters? You have any questions, Abdul Raqib? Question says, Assalamu alaikum. Can someone ask the children there who wants to be a scholar of Islam? I want to be a scholar of Islam. Anybody here want to be a scholar of Islam? MashaAllah. Everyone raise their hand. MashaAllah.
This is on a live feed, so you can get live questions.
Says in some places in Indonesia, especially in my area, people do a lot of bid'ah. I want to address this issue, but I don't want to be disrespectful. Can you give me some ideas? Initial is AB. There's no, whenever you give dawah and you give advice and you teach someone, you don't never ever have to be disrespectful. There's no connection between teaching someone, advising someone, and being disrespectful. There's not. You don't have to be disrespectful. Even when you're harsh and when you're stern and firm, you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be disrespectful. All right? So if someone is doing something that's wrong, and you know that it's wrong from the proofs and the evidences, you tell them. If you can do it in a nice and simple, easy manner, then do that. Pull them to the side. If you have to be stern and harsh, then you be stern and harsh. If you have to do it publicly, you do it publicly. If you have to do it in private, you do it in private. Al-Muhim, there's never a time in which you have to be disrespectful. And no matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you're confident about what you're saying, and you know what you're saying, and you have the proper way, everyone doesn't have to agree with you, but they'll never have a bad taste. And this is one of the problems of dawah today. There's no reason why you should go to a masjid, whether they like you or dislike you, agree or disagree, and you leave, and they have a bad taste in their mouth from you. We won't invite him again. We didn't agree with everything he said, but he had proper etiquette. He was respectful. He had proper ilm. He was strong in his ilm. He was disrespectful. He was rude. He was hasty. He had no respect for his elders. He was this and his that. That goes to show you that your dawah is not the prophetic dawah. That's not the Prophet ﷺ's dawah. His dawah, whether the people liked it or not, was never disrespectful. So there's no connection between disrespecting somebody and telling them they did doing something wrong. Rather, there's a balance between the two. So that's in brief. That's in brief. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Okay, tell you this will be our last question. Are there any other questions from the people here before we stop? Okay, then inshallah. Last question we take from Fadda. Go ahead. What are those Arabic words that you said, and what do they mean? I'm not going to tell you. If you want to learn, guess what you need to do? You got to learn. When I was younger, I had a teacher that wouldn't teach me and that refused to help me out. And I looked at it as a bad thing. I was older brother. You know the older brother. I begged him to teach me Arabic, and he refused to. That's right. Subhanallah. Disciple, huh? Sheikh Hudayfa from Nashid Mujahideen. He wouldn't teach me Arabic. I kept asking him, Sheikh, teach me. He says, inshallah, we're going to do it. And I was upset and I was mad. But then years later, I realized that perhaps that was a ruse. And perhaps he knew that I was hungry, and that forced me to go and learn it and study it myself. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And if you would have just pampered me and babied me, I wouldn't have had the hunger that I had to learn and to study. And alhamdulillah, I was just talking with Sheikh Hudayfa for the other day about setting up a lecture at the masjid. So we talk now, and he says, please come to the masjid. We'd be honored to sit at your feet. That's what he said. And I told him, I said, no, you're my old head. You're my elder. You know, I should be learning from you. He says, no, it's the opposite. So perhaps, if you want to know what I said and you like it, how I said it, you should do what? Learn Arabic. And trust me, you can learn Arabic. It's not hard. You can do it. How old are you? 7 years old. I started learning when I was 15. You already have a head start on me. You can beat me, inshallah. Bismillah. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma hamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan.
Great, then we have some food.
Khairan, inshallah.